Okay. Well, I'm Jane Carter from Jane Carter Coaching, where I help soulful solopreneurs have more money and fun and freedom in their businesses. And I've put together this Brain Trust series. A Brain Trust is a group of advisors. And I think that every solopreneur needs their Brain Trust. And Sandra Booker, who we're going to talk to today, is one of the people in my Brain Trust. She has really helped me in my business, and she's helped a lot of people in their businesses. So I wanted to share a little nugget or two of her wisdom here. So Sandra, I'm going to kick it to you and invite you to introduce yourself and your business before we dive into our mini conversation.
Yeah, sure. Thanks so much for having me, Jane. Sandra Booker. I am working as a fractional COO. So my company name is Sidekick COO. And my main thing that I do is I help online service providers grow and scale their business. So what I've found is the people that I work with, they're established businesses. They know what they're doing. They know how to serve their clients. They know where to find their clients. All of that is working fine. But despite all that, they keep coming up against hurdles after hurdles after hurdles, and they can't really grow and scale in the way that they want to. And it's usually because there are some foundational pieces that they're missing from their business. So they don't really have a way of making decisions in their business beyond their gut. They don't have any data that they can base anything off of because they're not really tracking anything other than revenue. Um, there's still a lot of manual processes in their system. They don't really know what their ultimate goals are. So I come in, get those foundational pieces in place for them so that they can move forward with a lot less hurdles.
And I love that as you're talking, because as a very touchy-feely person, as a touchy-feely coach, I know one of the things you've helped me with is looking at data and facts and reality. And I work with uh, so many solopreneurs who are very much in touch with their feelings and their intuition. Um, and this actually leads into my first question, which is like, what are some of the mistakes that you see solopreneurs making? And I would even say, like, what are mistakes you see people making, thinking that they're making the right decision? And let me apologize. My dog is on the couch with me and he's whining a little bit. But so if
I
you hear
haven't
him in
been able to
the
hear them, so.
background, that's not me. It's my dogs. So
Oh my gosh.
anyway, so yeah, so what are mistakes I think so many people think that they're making the right decision, not realizing they might be shooting themselves in the foot. And where do you
Mhm.
see that happening?
So in two big areas. One is only focusing on their revenue. So a lot of people, that's the only number that matters to them. That's the only number they look at. They judge all of their success based on their revenue, and that has led more than one business owner down to the path to like no longer being a business because if you're only focusing on your revenue, it can be really, really easy to overspend um, and find yourself in some really bad, hot water down the road. So um, I'd say, and it's funny because there are some larger gurus, people who have built huge businesses and teach people how to build businesses, and they will tell their people to only focus on revenue because they kind of forget, like when you're hitting multiple seven figures, eight figures, nine figures, you start to forget what it was like at, you know, six figures, high five, little six figures. And you start to forget like that was a problem for you, you know. So I've known business owners who have only focused on revenue and then lost their homes. Um, so
Right.
really make sure that you're looking at your cash flow, you understand your profit margins, and you know what money's coming in, what money's going out, and have a budget in your business. So that is number one. And then number two, it's not really a mistake per se, but I know a lot of business owners that make all of their decisions based on their gut. And most of them are doing that because they don't have any other way of making a decision because they don't have any data to back anything up. And I am all for listening to your gut, but the problem with that is that guts can be easily confused. Like, a little bit of potato can put you off your gut. So, it can be really easy to mistake fear for gut intuition or excitement for a gut intuition. So, and if all you're doing is basing it on your gut, you're not giving yourself time to really reflect and analyze and understand the risk and rewards of the decision you're about to make. So data helps us there. I'm big on making data informed decisions. Sometimes you'll look at the data and everything in you is telling you data doesn't matter here. I'm going this way instead. And that's totally fine as long as you've taken the time to really understand what does that mean if you win and what does that mean if you don't win, like so that you can fully accept the risk that you're taking, which is really important, especially like if you are a more risk averse person but still go by your gut. It can cause a lot of mental trauma for you if you're going by your gut and your gut is leading you astray. So
Yeah. I like that. I'm picturing the person like checking their gut, not ignoring it. Because I'll talk to a lot of people who completely ignore their own intuition or talk themselves out of what their gut is telling them. But on the other but pay attention to your gut, but also like look at the data. Because you're right. Sometimes we confuse our just I want this or I'm dreaming that this will happen therefore it will.
yeah,
And there's a lot in between there that has to happen to actually
yeah,
make it. So
yeah,
like
and
check your
it's
gut, but don't check your brain at the door, maybe.
exactly, exactly. It's like, because, there's nothing more empowering than if you're like, ooh, I think I should do this. And then all of your numbers tell you, yes, you should do that. And everything that you look at, it's like you get way more confidence from a decision. But then also, if you think you should go one way and all the numbers are telling you something else, then you actually get to make a decision and rather than, jump and hope you land somewhere soft. So.
Or even if you decide to make that decision anyway, you've chosen that leap.
Exactly. Yeah. Like to me, it's
Right.
like the difference between running full force at a cliff and jumping into what you
Hmm.
think is water below,
Hmm.
or looking over the edge
Hmm.
and going, well, there's rocks here, there's rocks here, there's rocks here. It looks like a nice little pool over there. I'm going to aim for that. I
Yeah.
may not hit it, but at least I'm going to aim.
Yeah.
Like I had still going with my gut that I'm going to hit that pool, but now I
Right.
at least know that I've identified the risks involved and taken the leap anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. And I love a good metaphor. So yay.
I don't know if that was a good one, but it's one.
No, that's a great one. I find off the cuff metaphors are the best ones. Okay, so many things I wish I could ask you, but the other thing I would say, I would be curious, because hindsight is so 2020. If you could go back and talk to yourself as you were starting your business, what would you want to say to yourself? Like, what are some of the things that you wish you'd known? Or I think we have to make those mistakes, right, to learn. But like, what's some of the wisdom you've learned? But what do you wish you'd known when you were starting out?
I think probably for me it would be I think I probably would tell myself the gurus are full of shit too with pardon my like I mean not that they don't know things, but I mean if you ask somebody a question and their answer is immediate and decisive, second guess that question, like second guess that the answer, and don't just take it and run because the nuance of business is way deeper than people think, and If somebody is not asking you follow-up questions before giving an opinion, um, they're they're not taking into account the nuance of your business. And it's easy to say that, well, business hasn't changed much in 1,000 years, but it still matters, like who you are as a business owner, who your ideal client is, the services you're providing, what you're comfortable with, what you're not comfortable with, because, you know, somebody who's confident in selling can go and do cold calling and they're going to be successful. Somebody who is not confident in selling is going to do cold calling and they're going to be miserable and they're not going to get anything from it. That doesn't mean that cold calling doesn't work. It just means it's not a good solution for that person. So I've heard gurus who just say, oh, do this to the answer of a question, in answer of a question, rather than, okay, well, let me ask you this and let me ask you that.
Yeah.
So I always steer clear of those people that just say this.
Yeah. They take what worked for them and
Apply it
kind
to
of
you, just, yeah.
apply it to you without actually.
Yeah.
Well, and also I think, I laughed when you said like the gurus are full of shit. You see how the sausage is made. Like you really get to see behind the scenes. And
Yeah.
I would imagine from that position, seeing people who present very confidently and realizing, oh, there's mess back there too.
Yeah.
Um, I take comfort in that.
Yeah. My husband likes to send me this little GIF every once in a while, and it's just I can't ever remember what it's of specifically, but it plays this song that just says, "No one knows what they're doing." And it's just like, yeah, no one knows what they're doing. To a certain degree, that's true because there's just so many variables. So for every decision you're making, a bit of it is a leap. So
Mhm.
but yeah, the nuances, it matters. So when somebody gives you an answer and they don't preface it with saying like, you might want to check on a few things, or they might, or if they don't ask you questions, you need to take the time in your business to ask yourself the questions and confirm if that advice applies or how it might apply or what might you need to do to tweak in order for it to apply before you just jump into it.
Yeah, and that really connects back to the first thing, which is don't check your brain at the door and don't check the data at the door and don't check your gut at the door. Because I think
Hmm.
sometimes, a guru, they present so confidently, they've achieved a certain level of success. So even though they might be saying something and your intuition is like, I don't
Hmm.
know, or your data is like, yeah, I don't know that I'm ready to, invest $100,000 in this coaching or whatever,
Yeah.
you might actually shockingly know what's best for you.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And it's not necessarily that they're being evil in any way. Like they're not doing like,
Yeah.
it's just like they've forgotten or, they just think everybody knows information that's in their head and like
Mhm.
it's easy to forget those things. I'm sure I'm guilty of just giving somebody an answer too, but I
I'm
really
sure
try
I am
hard
too.
to ask the questions or point out some of the nuance they might need to think about first. So,
Yeah, we're all human, so
yeah.
that's a thing to remember. Have there been any key moments along the way? I mean, this may be a similar question, but key moments in your business, either with people you've worked with or just things that you've learned within your own business where you were like, oh wow, that's an aha moment, whether it was a big mistake or one of those favorite failures or
Mhm.
something that went really well that you were like, ooh yeah. I'm curious what, yeah, one or maybe two of your like key moments has been.
Yeah, I have a few. So like the whole idea of keeping track of your cash flow and everything, and I said that I knew people who lost their homes and stuff, which is true. But I also almost lost my business because I took my eye off my cash flow. So I was like happily going along doing my little thing and then and always like people coming to me and clients were always just there and I didn't have any problems. And then I had a couple of contracts that all ended at the same month and One client pivot out and want to do something different, so they didn't need me anymore. This is back when I was doing VA work years ago. And I was just like, I didn't think about it. I was like, everything's good and, it'll all come. And it was like 2 months later, I decided, yeah, I better look at that cash flow and just see where I am. And I was about 2 weeks away from having to close up shop because I hadn't replaced any of my revenue and I hadn't been looking at it. And I was just happily spending as if nothing had changed because I, stopped doing the thing I knew I had to do. And I was like, okay, never doing that again. Like, managed to pull myself out. And yeah, so that was a lesson I've seen other people, like a mistake I've seen other people make, and a lesson that I learned myself. And same with the like listening to a guru. Is I was in 2019, near the end of 2019, I went to an event and sitting in a circle and had this really impressive guy who's run many multiple seven-figure businesses tell me like, oh, so I told him like what my business plan was. He says, why would you do that? Don't do that. You want to do this. And he told me to start a VA agency. And I was like, I had never wanted really to do a VA agency. But I just kind of put my, checked my gut at the door and checked everything at the door and went, well, he knows what he's talking about. And spent all of 2020 trying to make an agency work and it was not for me. So those two things together really were big learning moments in my business. So
So some hard won lessons for sure.
yeah,
But man,
all
that's so powerful, you
yeah,
know?
all lessons I've seen, like I've seen people make those mistakes already. I had warned people against those mistakes already and still, you
Yeah.
know, fall into it because it's like you said, we're all human. Stuff
Yeah.
happens. So just yeah.
It's hard to see that for ourselves too. I mean, I think one of the reasons that I've hired you to help me with some things is like knowing that, okay, sure, I could go through the charts and the data on my own, but sometimes I need someone, I'm too close to it, right?
Yeah.
So having someone look at it from the outside, or this is another reason I continue to invest in coaching. And
Yeah.
I like being the person for my clients to like, hey, I need to look at, I can help you look at this from the outside. Because when
Yeah.
we're so close to our own business, it's really hard to
It
see it.
yeah, it can be really, really hard. And having somebody like just ask the right question at the right time. Um, and it was, oh, I lost the who it was that said it. But basically there's a few quotes about stats and numbers that I like. And basically eh, numbers tell a story, but they can also lie. Because you have to interpret the data. So
Yeah.
that's how like people can make numbers say anything they want, which is why it's always good to have somebody there to ask the questions and for you to actually have other numbers and other data that backs up your like what you're seeing and what you believe you're seeing. So
Mhm, mhm.
yeah.
And you're good at identifying key metrics for people to look at. And I'll invite people to follow you and learn more about you to get into what those are. Um, but I can see how, I think it can, and being a solopreneur, it can be overwhelming of like, what data? What do I pay attention to? Right. But again, this is why what you do is really important because you help people identify like, here are the things to look at.
Hmm.
Um, I really appreciate that about you. Um, Having been in business for how many years now? Several years.
I started in 2014, but I officially registered my business in 2015. So
Okay.
almost,
So we're
yeah,
both
9, 10 years.
in
Yeah.
our 10th year or 10 years of working for ourselves. Woohoo.
Yay.
Congratulations. Um, is there anything about your work or about the space of solopreneurship that still surprises you?
Um, Something that still surprises me. I mean, I don't know. I don't think so. Like I've been I because you told me you were going to ask me that question. And I've been I've been kind of like
I didn't
thinking about it
surprise you with
for,
that
yeah.
question. Yeah.
um
Another
I
question
I
to
think,
try to stir things up. I mean, it doesn't,
yeah,
it's
I
an
mean, I
quite
think the thing
anonymous
that
thing.
probably surprises me is that how many people can get so far by, the seat of their pants. Like it's amazing to me how far people can get in their business without having um a lot of the foundations in place. And like I've been in multi-million dollar businesses in the back ends of multi-million dollar businesses and seeing like how are you even surviving? Like it's hard. Like it's so it surprises me how long people will let the chaos continue before they seek help. And it surprises me how far they can get on it. Grit and determination can get you pretty far, but it's not going to be necessarily a happy journey all the time. But yeah, I think that surprises me.
Yeah, it might catch up at some point.
Yeah.
And again, it's funny as you're speaking, I'm like, okay, there's a downside to that, obviously, because it will only get you so far. And I also find comfort in, yeah, man, even people who are struggling with being disorganized or not doing, checking all the right boxes, that that urge to do the work can keep them going for a long time.
Yeah.
So passion can take you
Passion
further
can take
than
you
you would have
far.
gone, but
Yeah,
it just at the point
exactly.
you've actually got to, you know, have your structures in place and have a firm foundation. So
Yeah, exactly. Like you can get pretty far, depending on your business and who you are. You can get pretty far on, like I said, determination and grit and passion. But eventually, something's going to bite you in the butt, and you're going to be like, "Ow, I need to change a few things."
yeah, and you help uh, protect people, or maybe even help people recover from getting bit in the butt.
Yeah,
That's a big.
yeah.
um, Say a little bit about, like, if anyone wants to reach you and get your help with making sure that that foundation is in place, or that, either if they're about to take the leap off the cliff and they want to make sure, like, maybe this let's make sure this is a good idea, or that they want to have the bridge in place to continue the metaphor. How can people reach you?
They can go to sidekickcoo.com, which is SIDEKICKCOO.com. Get on my email list there. And right on the front page, there's a way to get on my email list. Check out the resources section for some other free resources. Like if you're looking at KPIs, there's a KPI list there. You can also find me on Instagram at Sidekick COO. So I'm around. You can find me.
Awesome. And I just started coughing because I'm coming out of a cold. So excuse me. I just put in a lozenge. Awesome. And sorry, now the lozenge is clicking around. Um, hashtag we're all human. Any-
Yeah.
is there anything else that you want to add while I've got you here? Or I don't know. I didn't ask you
Yeah.
to anything extra, but
Yeah, no, I think it's I love that you're doing this. I think it's really, really valuable. Like I wish I had a thought of the name Brain Trust. I created my 627 advisory board and I couldn't think of a name for it, and so that's what the name is. But I'm like, Brain Trust, that would have been such a good name for
maybe I'll let you have it. I think there can
but
be
I
more than one brain trust.
maybe, but I think it is really, really important to like surround yourself with people that you can trust, that can help you in areas that you might have a weak spot in. Um, and if you listen to, most of the successful business owners out there, like even the ones that say, I did it all by myself, like when you get into their story, they always had somebody that they could ask questions to, somebody that they could bounce ideas off of, somebody telling them, something that helped stir their initiative or fueled their fire. And so I love the fact that you're doing this because it is super useful to have a place to go where you can get that information. So
Thank you. Well, yeah, I mean, one of the things when as I reflect on my 10 years since leaving my job, I think one of the things I wish I'd done was put together a team sooner, a brain trust, not
Yeah.
necessarily hiring employees, but just having my team, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
glad to have found you and others who are in my brain trust, but wish I'd found you sooner.
Yeah.
So, so I hope this will inspire others to reach out to you, and to yeah, to get that kind of support. So thanks for what you're doing, Sandra. I really appreciate it, and thank you so much for being here and
You're
sharing your
welcome.
wisdom.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks again for having me. It's been great.
Yay! Say hi to Canada for me.
Will do.
Bye.
Bye, Jane.